Ginger Prime stands with a rallying call. Pixelit faith standing strong through it all. The frame rate may falter, but hearts won't fall. Chrono rewrites what you thought you knew at all. Late to the game, but his wisdom lands clean. Skill checks are off, that's the price of a dream. Gaming kinda brings a chaos and thrill, dropping rare loot with unshakable will. 4-day holds the line, grace under the blade, faith like a fortress that never will fade. Scrag lights the fire with a storm in his breath. $80 flat for unfinished quests. Joy-Con still drifting, my patience long gone. But I'll queue up at midnight, you know I'll play on. Pull up a chair, the battle's begun. Legends are forged in the light of the sun. One life now saves, play it bold, take the lead. At the gaming roundtable where the fearless plant every seed. Retrying, riding tree. Ride now please, rise through the fire, no checkpoint in sight. One heart, one strike through the endless night.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gaming Roundtable podcast. You might notice a slight rebrand from the Crystal Core Radio podcast of Brian with Taylor, Chrono, and Mark. Back again, one less beard than before, rocking the Houston Astros hat. I have to say, Taylor, your comment, especially about the music in the last show, was greatly inspired what the new little theme song intro is here today. Welcome back, Taylor. What's going on with you, sir?
I'm either you're welcome or I'm sorry. I'm not sure what you're looking for. That was awesome. Good job.
Thank you very much. I put a lot of time in the lyrics, which was like, I was like, yeah, what can I kind of try and hone in on each of these guys? And then obviously it's so much fun. So we'll be continuing the podcast, guys. This is the regular time. So if you guys are enjoying the content, like, sub, and consider coming back from these live shows and or FODs. One of the things, let's toss over to Mark. What's going on with you, man? We got a lot to cover, so we're just going quick into it.
Oh, go quick. I can do that. Everything's great. It's beautiful outside right now. I've been playing a lot of Doom, and I am everyone's good. I can't complain. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Chrono, how about you, man?
Everything's cool here. I mean, it's getting hot here in the South, but I have air conditioning, so I can't complain too much. And I started playing Blueprints, and I'm hooked. I've been like kind of jonesing for my hit this week. I started playing it and I want to pick it up again.
Before like pretty much the last 12 hours have been pretty chaotic in terms of like an incredible big news story. You have Bungie guilty of plagiarism, stealing. This isn't the first time they've done this, and so it's just leading credence to a big story. We want to talk about that. I want to get y'all's thoughts about Borderlands 4, so we're going to talk about that today as well. I'd like to also kind of touch on some of the stuff that's been going on with the No Rest for the Wicked community this week. I've been covering that primarily on my channel, but first I want to open the show with something that like brought me to tears. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but let's talk about Superman.
Bright and in our lives for a very long time. So
I will say
I'm happy for it.
Appreciate that it's like brightly colored. Like it's not, that nothing is muted. Like Superman's costume is bold and the blue is very blue, and it's not this like subdued like hue like most of the Snyderverse had been.
Yeah. I feel like James Gunn, out of all the showrunners that contributed to the MCU, I always felt like he had a really good balance of seriousness and comedy. It's going back to like Guardians 3. That was a at times heart-wrenching story.
Oh yeah.
But there was still levity to it. And I think, over the last few years, there's been a lot of criticism of like the Marvelization of writing, especially in video games. What was that one Sony exclusive by Square that people criticized? It just felt like it was a Marvel movie where the girl's like goes back in time and she gets magic powers. I forget.
Is it
but
Forspoken?
Forspoken, yeah. People kept saying, I just feel like it's just like Marvel dialogue. Oh, I don't know, Taylor, if you're talking, but you're muted.
Oh, I said Brian was the only person that liked that game.
So, there you go. But like Thor was I forget I don't know how to say his
Taika
name.
Waititi.
Taika Waititi. So like, I feel like I agree with how Thor went off the edge with it, but yeah, I'm optimistic. I think James Gunn has a good way to balance that emotional paradox of both bringing levity to a situation and also taking things seriously when you need to. So yeah, I'm optimistic.
And he brought the animals back, just like he did in Guardians 3. I'm sure y'all have heard that the dog is literally mocapped of his dog, of James Gunn.
Oh, wow.
It's
That's
so much fun. So, yeah, he's like, I can make you feel emotional about a dog because I've loved this being for years. I'm like, okay, James, I got it, man.
I'm also excited to see how Nathan Fillion like portrays his lantern in this movie. I forgot the name of it. The character looks like a total dweeb, but I think it's supposed to, you know. And so I remember everybody's first reaction was like, "Who is this guy?" And I was like, "Man, Nathan Fillion, like I'm in. I love his stuff."
He's very fun.
Here's a question. It seems like there's a lot of expanded DC characters and villains in this movie, just from the 1 or 2 trailers. Is that going to be potentially too much to manage? And the only reason
that's the fear a lot of people who express, and the only way to know is watching it. Now they have continually reiterated this is a Superman story. This is about Superman, and I think essentially what I kind of hope that these other characters are is that no, they exist, they fill out the world, but they obviously aren't taking center stage. We've already seen Guy Gardner in the Peacemaker season 2. Promo, etc. So it's like they're filling in these characters. They play a role. It's or function. And I think James Gunn has actually handled that very well from Creature Commandos, Peacemaker season 1, and Justice League, where it's like, Suicide Squad, bringing these things together. And so, but yes, they do feature in the trailer. And so my hope is that it's kind of a small piece of it, where you don't have these movie theaters or these promos that are like, you showed me the trailer, you showed me the whole movie. It's like, what's happening?
Yeah. That's what I'm always worried about with trailers now, though. It's gotten so bad, and I think it like what burnt was like Brave New World should have saved Red Hulk for people in the movie, and not put it in the trailer. But then they had to get people to go watch the trailer. So I don't know. My wife's question when we watched the trailer together was, "There's a lot of characters there. Is that going to be too much?" Like, and I thought the same thing, but then I'm like, I'm in it for the action. Yeah. I want to see Superman beat people up and, overcome challenge. So that looks like what we've got.
Superman is my favorite all time superhero. And my brother's really big into Batman. And I felt like with Superman, he's been lost in terms of how do we tell this story? I thought Snyder did actually a really good job with Man of Steel. But then the executives completely ruined that any chance that universe had any kind of, vision, right? And what I'm wanting with this, what I'm already seeing so far, and what I'm hoping this does is then codifies that vision for what DC can be within movies, TV, and even James Gunn said games, which was interesting. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I'm all in. So my plan is I'm going to see this as early as I can. And see if then I want to, and how I want to introduce the kids to the movie. So it's is it just the older kids? Are there some really, dark themes and whatnot? Obviously it's bright and cheery, but that will help make darkness contrast greatly, where it's oh my gosh, what's happening? So I'm very excited for it. And while it's not my official birthday, it is my birth month. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Superman this summer. Been waiting for this one since they announced it. And it is finally here. Any other thoughts on Superman before we actually talk video games?
My birthday's in October. If we're all sharing. There you go.
It's all right. What's all our birthstones?
I really hope Warner Brothers doesn't get in their own way, they're prone to do, with the whole thing. Because I feel like this movie can be great, but then are the executives going to get in the way again? This is the same company that the gaming division cancels a bunch of projects this year and then releases a report that's revenues are down 50%. It's you don't have anything.
Yeah.
You can complain all you want, but you didn't do anything.
And Justice League killed the Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. Well, that was that's a hit and a miss.
Well, when that was free on the Epic Store, I can remember looking at it and going I don't even want it for free.
Yeah.
They had to
Speaking-
take all that money that they saved from the gaming division to rebrand HBO Max, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
True. Yeah,
Back
they had
to
pay
HBO
the
Max.
graphic designer,
Yeah.
the graphic
Who-
designer to
who-
add HBO back.
Whoever called it Max? Like I'm gonna go watch. No,
Never.
I'm watching HBO.
It's been HBO Sunday night, and I've been tweeting about it on Twitter for years. Leave me alone.
Like, yeah, it's like I'm with you, dude. That's why we have you here. Speaking of looter shooters, though, one of the things I'd like to get everybody's kind of thoughts on, because I really love Borderlands 2, and then Destiny came in and basically replaced that, and it was actually originally defined as Halo meets Borderlands. That's what Destiny is, and Borderlands 3 came out, and I don't know. I just did not resonate with that game. I wasn't excited about the game. It just kind of felt like something was off. I think ultimately that ended up proving out to be true. But as we've been learning about Borderlands 4, honestly, I'm pretty interested in checking it out. I love the fact that it's cross-play, and I think that's going to add in a lot. It's coming in Nintendo Switch 2, which I think is fascinating to see how that plays out. I don't know if it is cross save, and if it is, that's going to make it even better to level up on different platforms and play the way that I play. But what do you guys think about this? Is this going to be a game that you're looking to check out? I know it's not a games as a service, which honestly, the way that things are going, that actually is going to work out, I think, in its favor, as people
It's a
are, I
little
think,
refreshing.
Yeah.
right. And then it was really planning on launching right up, right beside the marathon, which we'll talk about marathon here in a little bit. I don't know if that game's coming out. Like, we'll have to see. What do you guys think about Borderlands, though?
I'm excited. I never played Borderlands until the third one, and that was in large part because I was at the E3 2019 where they were showcasing Borderlands 3. So it was like the showpiece. There was Borderlands statues. There was a huge exhibit with all these streamers like Ninja in a box in a wall, like they were all playing the game. And I was like, oh, I'll check this out. And it's a fun game to play with my friends. Like this, the comedy, I imagine it's one of those things, if you play a lot of those games, the comedy could get a little tiresome, that specific type of humor. My biggest issue with the third one were the villains. Like, and I know the villains were supposed to be annoying, but they were just, I don't know. I didn't really.
You're content creators, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's like, listen, I know I'm annoying. I get it. But like, there was just something about it where, and again, people said past villains were actually really well done. And that was a pretty ubiquitous criticism, but I liked it a lot. I'm excited for Borderlands 4. To me, it almost feels like video game junk food. Like, I'm not going in for anything spectacular. I'm not going in for a story that's gonna like move me. I'm going in to have a fun time, to talk a little game with my friends and shoot stuff and get armor. Like, it's just it's a good way to pass the time. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I've played the first one and some of the second one a lot. Like, I started the first one several times and liked what I played, and then just randomly played the second one with friends a few times. So I think the series as a whole is pretty solid. And, if they're just taking it forward, it looks like new areas, new weapons and all that, it'll be a fun time. I agree with the video game junk food angle. Like, you just go in for the fun, shoot and blow stuff up angle, and I think you'll be pleased.
I'm kind of out on it. I'm kind of out after Borderlands 3. So I really enjoyed 1. I have great memories of 2 because I actually played it co-op in person with a friend of mine. That was really, really fun. 3 was just the same thing as 2. So 2 is such a big improvement over 1. 3 was just more of 2, and everything I've seen from this just looks like it's more of 3. And I think I'm just kind of done with it.
Yeah. I get that, right? I feel like if I was in the same boat as you, I'd be there as well. That's kind of how I feel after I played like 1 or 2 Far Cry games in sequential
like,
release.
I did it. I enjoyed it. All the rest of them are just more of the same. So.
Yeah. That's why I feel like Ubisoft should space those games out more. It's just like, I'll play it again. Just give me like 4 years or 5 years in between, right? But no, that makes sense. I don't even know if that's a criticism of the game, right? It's just a matter of like, you realize where you're at with your gaming palette. Switch 2 version will be interesting, especially if we have parity with crossplay. This could be
crossplay, and then does the Switch 2 version get mouse controls? That's my question on every shooter game on Switch 2. Is Fortnite on Switch going to have mouse controls? Because that's going to be an edge over every controller player.
Oh yeah. it's going to be interesting. Weirdly enough, Nintendo might be the place to play first-person shooters, which is
Maybe that's going to be wild, right? Like, who would have thought?
never been hasn't been the case since GoldenEye and the
Right,
short moment of
exactly.
GoldenEye.
That would be wild. It's like the Switch 2 ends up being the premier version, especially for those keyboard and mouse players who are on the go.
And to the point of like crossplay, it almost needs cross progression, really. Like as a like that, if you're going to do crossplay, you might as well build out the infrastructure to do progression. That's been my biggest complaint. I think Forza on PlayStation doesn't have cross progression. I find that weird, but then Gears is going to. And so I feel like maybe it could be retroactively applied, but at this point, if you've already played it on PlayStation, would you really want to overwrite that progress? But it's neither here nor there. I just think if you're going to
the only time to jump in though, like the only game that I can in memory think of where it was cross, like backwards applied was Destiny, where Destiny did not have cross play, cross save. Eventually they had it to where you picked a character and now it's like, okay, yeah, this is what we do. So I think it's like if it doesn't launch with it, like the odds that it gets introduced later, like, man, there would just have to be such demand, or they'd have to say, oh, in order to make this feature, we'll sell another 1 million copies of this game. And I don't know if that ends up being the reality. But you were saying.
I was just saying, I hope that becomes the norm though, because it seems like the last few games that have been big on crossplay have also talked about cross progression. And I'm just excited we're finally at a point where it's like, hey, what do you play on? It really doesn't matter. Just get whatever version you can so we can play together. Like that's one of the best things about modern gaming at this point.
Yeah. I feel like Diablo 4 does a good job at cross progression. And when I've played Diablo 4 on my PlayStation PC, I just open the game, I log in, and my stuff's there. I remember that not being the case with Destiny 2 at first. I can't remember if they've made that more seamless, but with Borderlands 3, like I had the PlayStation 4 version and then I got the free PS5 version. And I was like, I should just same console, right? Just turn the game on. And you had to upload the character from the PS4 menu game and then download the character on the but that's to your point, that infrastructure wasn't there. So it is something they could build out. Will it move the numbers enough for them to do it? Who knows? Maybe if they plan early enough, it shouldn't matter. But
but with it not being a service game, I was going to say that too. With it just being like a story and that's it, and whatever DLC they add, you can jump in and not feel like you've missed anything. That's my biggest problem. Like Destiny is at this point, if I jump in, I don't know what's going on enough to participate in the lore, but just playing Rudy Tooty point and shooty, I don't like. It's fun for a little while, but like at some point, I want to engage with why am I killing everything?
Yeah.
Because they look different than you, man.
That's fair. That's fair.
Wow. Okay.
Thank God we got an Italian with olive skin in here that we can pass as some kind of minority.
I'm also Jewish too, so you can let those jokes fly as well. I can permission.
That's so freaking funny. All right. I'm looking forward to this. Like, this is in and of itself where it's like, okay, I fell off with like Borderlands 3. I was just like, good night. Like, this doesn't feel like what I want. And then watching people play it, it just didn't sell me on it. Already what I'm seeing, I was like, oh man, like maybe I'm ready to re-up and jump back into a nice fun looter shooter, one that I don't feel like I need to commit, endless amounts of time and coordination. And, right now where I'm like, yeah, I think I'll wait to see how it kind of shakes out over the summer, because they're going to do another preview event like in June. And then I'll either decide whether I want to pre-order or not. If they do announce it with cross save though, and I do get in, it's an easy where I would pick it up for like PC, Xbox, and my Switch too, because then I can just sit wherever I'm at, whenever I'm not having to compete with my own children, so that I can play a video game. I think that will end up being really freaking exciting.
A peer pressure purchase for me. Like if enough people told me, hey, we're going to play together, you should play with us, I'd probably pick it up,
That's kind of what I'm evaluating it as, because it's like Mario Kart, really excited, multiplayer. Borderlands, that might be a really fun multiplayer. No Rest for the Wicked probably is getting its multiplayer update sometime around that very time.
It's very funny hearing you say No Rest for the Wicked while watching Borderlands, since that's kind of their main theme song.
Yeah, it was.
Ain't no rest for the wicked.
I did not know that. Was that like Borderlands 2 commercial or something?
Yeah,
like that?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And
Gotta
it's
write
like
that
that you all last week on the podcast when you kept saying the rest of the wicked, I thought you were talking about Borderlands.
Well, there's also the band Cage the Elephant who sings that. So it's like whenever you would search the rest of the wicked, it's like originally before that game started getting people are understanding that if you're looking for the game or the song, it's like okay, it's competing with that because that's absolutely true. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting because like where does this slot in? Like where am I gonna put in the time? And the looting in and of itself and the shooting just seems like it's. I kind of looking forward to that. I'm kind of looking forward to diving in.
The release date?
September.
It was the September, I think, 12th or something like that, where like the literal same day as Marathon. And
okay.
I have a feeling. I don't know if you guys have been seeing news. I have a feeling that we are not going to be seeing Marathon launch around that same time, unless I don't know, man. Unless Sony feels like just put it out, let it ride, and we'll regroup after. Guys, is everybody here up to speed on the plagiarism that has been confirmed, even by Bungie themselves?
Yep.
I'm not. I'm here as a viewer of the show, learning from you guys.
So the TLDR for anybody who has not yet heard, there is an artist on Twitter that was like, hey, like they ripped the basically entire style, even almost to the degree where you would say like the essence of their art. But it isn't just like, oh, this is inspired by this artist. You can literally see in game their posters, their work. So it was ripped, unattributed, non-paid for, and Bungie has now acknowledged it. And this isn't the first time that Bungie has been caught in this kind of scenario. And I think this adds to the kind of the frustration that people have already expressed about Marathon. I watched a couple streamers play it. It does not look like an interesting game. Like it doesn't look like anything that, like, why it just brings the question, why is this game coming to market? Now, on top of that, legal, you have the financial purse strings of Sony. So I'm kind of rooting that this artist gets a really good lawyer and gets a really good payday, because apparently they've been ripped off multiple times before. And I have to think that has to be pretty daggone frustrating. What do you guys think?
The official statement from Bungie's kind of weak. It was something along the lines of a former artist put this in without approval, or the approval mechanisms didn't catch this, whatever the systems they go through to like verify art or approve art. Just kind of felt like they were just putting a statement out there to absolve themselves of any like corporate responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is the art still made it into a product that is being shown and displayed and being used as marketing, so like they can't like weasel out of their responsibility there.
Yeah, there's no way they can rip this out. Like it's like you cannot, because everything is aesthetically designed around it. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, even with that statement, there's still liability, since he was an employee at Bungie at the time, right? Mm-hmm. So he was working on behalf of the Bungie organization. These types of statements, I don't really put a lot of weight on behind them, because it's just like there's a lawyer somewhere saying, "Don't say too much," right? Yeah. Because it's just the legal game, right? Yeah, it's going to be interesting. To your point, Brian, it'd be great to see them just make the right decision. Like, all right, let's compensate this guy and let's push the game out. I do think Sony's going to have to balance that with the question of, they have a decent idea really about how successful this game will be, though, too. Right. And I don't know. I feel like this is kind of up there with what was the game that released last year?
Concord.
Yeah. Like gameplay wise, it's probably going to feel better, but I've kind of heard the same. The feedback I've heard is that it's not unique enough to get people that really love extraction games to really excited about it. And if you don't like extraction games, it's probably something you could enjoy, but it doesn't have enough of a draw to get you away from the other type of shooters that you play. And so they're in a pickle, because this game very well costs a lot, might not be successful, and now they have this liability from an art perspective on them too. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't release this year and they rework it in some way.
Do you think they do the delay or the and then the shelf, where it's like, yeah, we're gonna, we got to rework these things, yada yada yada, and then it just never comes to pass? You were about to say something, Taylor?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've never played a solo extraction game. I've played it as a Brian. Actually, you and I played a lot of Gears, the new Gears, the extraction in that, and that was fun. We play 1 or 2 rounds, then we'd pop over to the other types of multiplayer or whatever. And then I'm a huge Rainbow Six Siege fan. I've been playing that. I've probably played that game more than I played any other game in my entire life. And they made an extraction game from that, and I played it for 0 minutes because I'm just like, it's not. If you just would have packed it in as another mode in Siege, I probably would have played it for a couple of rounds or whatever, just like their Halloween rounds and all this kind of stuff. But I'm just like, that's just never sold a game to me. So I was already kind of out of it. It's like I haven't really enjoyed what Bungie's been doing with Destiny 2. I used to play it all the time, and I haven't played it for a minute in 2 or 3 years because it's like kind of like what you were saying earlier. It's like my best friend started playing the game. He bought Destiny 2, and he jumped in like 3 years late because I told him it was fun. He couldn't play Destiny 2. Right. The story mode was gone. And I'm just like, what are we even doing? Like, make a third game or make it something else. Like, if you buy Destiny 2 and can't play Destiny 2, that's a very strange thing. So I'm kind of out on Bungie and apparently Borderlands. Apparently, I'm just negative today. I don't know what's going on.
He shaved his beard and all his joy.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Man. Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, it feels like the industry wants extraction shooters to be the next thing, but we don't have there's no successful example to go on that I can think, and it's weird how you see all of these like different takes on extraction shooters, and it's like, is there a demand for this? Like, what, because I could see Marathon being cool if it was presented as like something totally different, that we kind of be
this game could work if it was a different game.
Well, no, but I'm saying, like, it just kind of looks like all the other shooters, like it's got an interesting art style that apparently isn't theirs. So, like,
what does it have then?
What are we trying to sell? Because like, I still think Bungie, I still think back in the OG Halo days and how they were doing new and experimental stuff and just slapping it into a game and it was successful. Now the industry doesn't work that way anymore, but it's like, what is the obsession with, hey, let's make extraction shooters a thing, even though everyone that has come out has failed or it just has no players right now?
Yeah, it feels like AAA.
Uh-oh. How does that mean? Where's that Mark?
It's Mark.
All right.
What did I do?
You turned into a robot.
Oh, geez. Am I okay now?
You're back. Yeah, you're back.
The Bungie lawyers couldn't let us hear that.
I liked you better actually when you were a robot.
All right. These are all kinds of comments today, Taylor. I like it. But I was going to say, it feels like AAA game designed by committee, right? There's trend chasing in the AAA space, especially whenever you have a very large company with the purse strings behind it. And they're always trying to capture the next big thing. And there's the developer that makes the big thing and everyone tries to imitate it. And then there are those who kind of try their own attempt at it. And there's space for 2 of those maybe to succeed realistically. What's weird is that I feel like Bungie has the pedigree to be the people that make the new thing. So it just feels weird for me to see them trying to trend chase with their own, let's take an existing IP that's from like 1992, right? I mean, Marathon was probably mid 90s when it was coming out on the Apple. It just doesn't feel right because I feel like they're better than that. So that's, and I don't know if that's an accurate analysis because again, they're better developers than I ever would be, but it just feels that way. Like I have no desire to play an extraction. I've never had a desire to play an extraction.
That comment.
Yeah.
The spelling cracked me up. I didn't notice it the first time.
It's like, who's Ray?
I thought it said Ray Ping Jr. Oh, I mean senior back in the day, actually.
But I mean, that's also a good point, though. Like the Marathon series has like its own following, and so any of the existing fan base of that are probably looking at this and are like, what even? Because Bungie themselves have said, hey, it's not like a sequel; it just takes place like in that universe. But even then, it's like, well, again, who is this for? Like who's gonna? And that was the question with Concord when that trailer came out was, who is this for? Everybody that likes Overwatch plays Overwatch, So everybody that's found their extraction shooter, whatever it may be, because is it Tarkov, Escape from Tarkov, an extraction shooter?
Yeah,
that if you're playing Tarkov, you want to play Tarkov. you're not gonna jump into Marathon, especially at a premium price, because this isn't a free to play game yet. You know, it's not free to play. So like, what incentive is there for me to jump in with all this, like, I don't know, just kind of mid level looking stuff?
It really feels like it could have just been an expanded game mode in Destiny 2, and build on it.
It should have been.
Yeah.
Or just slap the Destiny brand on it as a separate product, but like making it Marathon and then just doing all this other stuff is it's not helping. You know,
I like what you said, Chrono, about it would be a better game if it was completely different.
right?
And I'm just imagining how that line of reasoning could work in other scenarios. Like if you're dating a girl, like, listen, it's not you. If you were someone completely different, this would totally work. You know, just
Mark, how did you
Brutal
find
takedown.
the logs of my college dating profiles?
I'm starting to feel like you and I have a lot more in common then, because some of the things I've said to ex-girlfriends, I told my wife, and she's like, "You told that to that person?" She like felt bad for me. I was like, "Well, I meant it." I once told a girl that I couldn't date her anymore because she wasn't smart enough for me.
Oh wow!
It was
She
true.
misunderstood.
Yeah.
Did she understand what you told her?
I mean, we stopped seeing
He
each
said
other.
it to her. He said it to her in Latin, so there was no way.
Oh my goodness! We need to get some more Protestants on this podcast just to kind of even things out for Chrono.
I'm good, man. My mom was Catholic when I was a kid.
Oh,
so,
he's
like,
Catholic adjacent. All
yeah,
right.
that's what I've been in and out of the Catholic Church, and I'm aware. Hey, I was excited for the Pope. Like, come on,
Everybody.
an
Oh,
American
dude.
Pope. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's been so great because like my feed has just been filled with like Protestants that are just livid. Like they're just so mad.
My question to those people, and I may have gotten into it on the internet about it, but it was, why do you care?
That's exactly what I was like. You left for a reason. You didn't want a pope. You wanted 1,000 million popes. Like you wanted everybody to be their own pope. All right. So
Welcome back to the Forte Catholic Podcast, guys.
I wonder if he like you wonder, especially with an American pope, because I've seen him talk in English, which is wild because it's like, oh my gosh, I immediately understand this guy. And I'm just kind of curious to see, like, as we continue to
Mark's
learn more.
ex still doesn't.
What's up?
Mark's ex still doesn't understand him.
No, what's interesting is like, have you guys been following any of the like the Pope has an older brother, and apparently the older brother's a little bit of an online troll.
Oh,
And
no.
so, yeah, so there's been some stuff that's been kicked up by the whole thing. Anyway, it's just been a great week. Like it's just been a great week. It was just like with a little bit of a cherry on top with the fact that Bungie, which I've been frustrated at Bungie for so long, and it's just like, okay, I already broke up with you, and you still didn't get any smarter.
There you go.
It's like
I worry that Sony wanted to push into live services and multiplayer so hard that they bought Bungie because Destiny 2 launched successfully and it made sense for them. But they have yet to deliver, not just Bungie, but Sony itself has yet to deliver a service-based or multiplayer game that I want to play.
Yeah.
You know, it's just everything is. And then I don't know if you guys saw this, but Jade Raymond left her studio that she founded with Sony to make a multiplayer game. So what was going on there? You know, like there's just so much with Sony's investment in multiplayer that's falling apart.
Yeah.
And it's just weird.
It's one of those things where if Sony leadership comes out and says, "Hey, this is our new initiative," all of the studios they own are going to come up with an idea to meet that initiative because that's how they're going to get the most funding for their studio. So it creates an incentive. And to be fair, Bungie does have the technical know-how to be that studio to help all the other studios figure out how to make a game like this. I don't think that's wrong. The challenge is if you do that, then that takes Bungie away from doing what they do best, which is just making awesome, innovative first-person, experiences. And it's the whole generation. Like the PlayStation 5 selling really well, so Sony's okay. But game-wise, they've just, they're in a place where they really haven't released at the cadence they have in the past. And now Microsoft's just like, hey,
Microsoft's saving PlayStation. Like it's like
Right.
all of a sudden, all the PlayStation gamers were like, "Well, we got a metric ton of video games that we're playing. Turns out they're all Xbox games, but and then somebody's asking like, what is an Xbox game anymore? And it's like, what is it? It's a game. And that's kind of like I've talked about the Play Anywhere shift that like really kind of started this over 10 years ago. But the other thing is Microsoft would always say a game's a game, a game. And that's one of the things like I've enjoyed about their ecosystem. My Xbox 360, my Xbox One, my Series, you know, all of those they're just a game. And I don't have to go and rebuy it. I don't have to refigure it out. And I think in a way, which was something I saw James asked me on Twitter, because there was kind of an article talking about how Xbox isn't going to use ARM chips in their next console. And they're like, what is it? I was like, in my mind, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I can't shake the feeling. It's just a PC. Their next Xbox is just a Windows machine, maybe with a real tailored experience. It's got the Xbox UI that people know. And guess what? You can just install games on it, and it's not going to care. Like, it's not going to sit here and care whether you bought it from the Xbox store or you bought it from Steam or you bought it from Epic. I just think that is I mean, in a way, would be the biggest power play, because what I'm in the market for is something that does what my Steam Deck and my Logitech G Cloud do, just on the TV. Like, I'm like, man, it'd be so great if I could just hook this up to the TV, play it. There we go. And then speaking of him, it's me. Yes, he was James was the one who shared that with me over on Twitter. And it's like, so I think that's going to be something that will be another, I think, industry kind of milestone, because we've seen it. Why buy an Xbox when PlayStation's getting all the games? They're enhanced on PlayStation. Well, PlayStation isn't also making a lot of games, and the games that they've been trying to push into as games of service isn't working out. I just think that I think we're right on the cusp of a massive industry shift, a massive, I think the console wars are behind us, in my mind.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It will be interesting, because if Xbox makes that pivot and they do it right, they're going to be at a place where their games are everywhere. Their games are selling well. Now they offer devices where you could play anything on them, right? You could play the PlayStation games that are on Steam on your Xbox console. Sony's not been investing in that architecture.
Right.
And the only thing that makes that architecture Sony has work is their stellar first-party games. In this generation, it's just been quiet for the most part. Besides like the 7th remaster of Last of Us Part 2 or whatever it is. You're just not seeing everything. You know, Astrobot's fantastic. They need to do more of that. All that's great, but it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I think with Sony's direction, like, if they don't embrace faster releases on PC, they're gonna fall behind with their window of waiting 2 years or whatever it is. I don't know if it's an official thing, you know, but if they're just gonna keep waiting to put stuff on PC, Microsoft's going to launch that next console, and hopefully it is the all-in-one, you know, game box for all intents and purposes. Because if it's not, then there's no reason to buy it, right? If it's just an Xbox, like, there's no reason to get it, and that would be stupid. But if I can load up Steam and stream GeForce Now and do all of the things that I could do on my PC, but it's just hyper focused on gaming and sits in my living room nicely, great. The less configuring you have to do, the more likely you are to get people like on board. And so as long as they don't market it as a PC, it just plays PC games, that's going to be the kicker.
The marketing, I think, is the real like interesting thing. If they go in that direction, like, do they abandon the Xbox brand altogether? Because their PC line is Surface. And I was like, man, imagine if it was like X Surface. I don't know. It's like,
no, they're gonna... y'all saw last week that they've already started putting Xbox PC as part of their marketing on games. Like, this game is coming to Xbox, it's coming to PC, it's coming to PlayStation, it's coming to Xbox PC. And like, people have been speculating all week about like what that could mean. And it's like, I think it's exactly what y'all are talking about. It's like we don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but y'all are in the ballpark. And I think they're already, like, literally this past week starting to drop the hints of like at least getting people to think that way. Like, this is an Xbox PC. This is because I'm the same way. It's like, the reason I am a console gamer, not a PC gamer, is because I don't want to have to figure things out when I get my games. I want to push a button and I'm right back in my game where I was. And it's like, if they can do that when it's, you know, some kind of handheld or kind of like the Switch where you can be either or, I think that's where they're moving.
Yeah, when that ROG Xbox branded ROG Ally comes out, we'll really see like what's the next step from there. Excuse me, but we'll just I'm hoping that thing is spec'd out you know, because my biggest complaint with the handheld market right now is we make a lot of concessions, and the PC gaming, like, as PC gamers as a whole have always been about like raw power and all the
Mhm.
FPS, but then on these handhelds, they're like, oh well, it's okay. You know, like, no, I want a powerful handheld. Now I understand the limitations, I understand the hardware, and it has to, you know, it's gotta have some kind of battery life to it. You know, we
Yeah.
can't have Game Gear 2.0. And you know,
Well, and again, that's where either hybrid cloud compute really comes into play, where you're like, hey, your battery life's going to be better because we're going to offload a bunch of this stuff over
Right.
on the cloud, and when it just streams in, some kind of hybrid approach there, or in this case, cloud. Like that's the thing that, oh yeah, like the Switch, like what the battery life is, it is what it is. But then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, can I connect into the cloud? And all of a sudden, that battery life goes from 3 hours to 16 hours because it's just streaming in a video at that point.
Right.
That in and of itself is one of the big, the other pro in that regards in terms of game streaming is the hard drive space, because with the exception of a handful of games are getting ludicrously large. And then I've seen people who are like, next gen is going to be 8K. I'm like, you don't, the hard drives aren't even able to, like, you have one game on your on your console at a time. Like, we're going at that point, it's just unreal.
I don't think that, I don't see that happening, because the adoption of 8K TVs is nowhere near to what the adoption of 4K TVs were.
Right.
Yeah.
And just as we're seeing with the change in how trade is working, like 8K TVs aren't going to get cheap anytime soon. And
That, and like the benefits of like jumping from 1080p to 4K was substantial. There were also new tech. There was new tech coming out alongside that with HDR and Dolby Vision and a bunch of these other display things going in. The jump from 4K to 8K is just a resolution bump. All the other tech is still there. So the normies out there aren't going to notice anything. You know, I would probably barely notice anything until somebody zooms in, like Digital Foundry zooms in and shows me, hey, this one blade of grass looks way better in 8K. You know,
If you want to sit right in front of your television with your glasses on, you'll tell the difference.
For some kind of internet points too. It's like, guys, my TV's better than yours.
Yeah.
All right. As we wind down, I'd like to kind of talk a little bit about what's been going on in the No Rest for the Wicked world, because this is something very interesting that kind of has been playing into a lot of what 2024 did with kind of Gamergate 2.0, where this week a hit piece article was written about the game's director talking about on Discord. Basically he's talking about, if you like the game, would you give it a positive review, to his Discord, because there is a hate campaign targeting the game to review bomb it. There's some of that reviews were absolutely legitimate. I've argued it's like a majority of them are, but it's still those negative ones have an impact. So the legacy media picked this up, started running with it in the terms of like the studio is going to shut down. They're, like the game's going to fail, and it's all because Thomas is a Nazi. And I was like, that's interesting. Like, that is what we've seen kind of be the strategy, but I just don't think it's ultimately working out, because even in the comment section of the videos that I've made covering it, it's like part of this is like everybody's just kind of paying attention. It's attention. People are talking about your game. More people are checking it out. Sure, there are people who are writing you off, but at the end of the day, attention kind of wins. What do you guys think about this whole situation?
it was interesting, right? Because I saw someone share in our Discord private chat that initial article that it's closing, and then I saw Thomas tweet about what actually happened, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. It was a bunch of nothing. I've never understood the criticism against the studio, but almost every podcast that I cherish and love and listen to that I think lean a certain way politically, they always bring up like, oh yeah, Ori was a great game, but the studio. And it's just like, what did he do? Did he help Kanye West produce his new album? Like, I don't know. But I mean, they're a small studio. They make great stuff. I hope they're successful. We were talking about this before the stream. It's a fun game. I need to get back to it, but it does a lot of things I like. And it's just, I don't know. I'm not one of those people that gets upset all the time about like fake news or anything like that. But there are things that happen in the media that make me go, why are you making me lose faith in this industry? We need this.
It's almost
industry.
like they're trying to make you lose faith in everything.
Yeah, but there you go. And we need the opposite. We need good journalism. We need truth. We need all that stuff. And everything's better when we do a better job at that. So
yeah, and all that they're doing in that case is driving people to other sources. And you're like, because at some point you get burned. Like I'm like, all right, what? This isn't true. And only telling part of the story is also a lie of omission, where you're like, all right, like you didn't give me the full details. To catch you guys up to speed about the previous thing was that apparently there were some disgruntled employees. That makes sense, right? Like you didn't like working there. And there
People
was
don't like work. That's never happened.
Well, it's interesting because you got to think of in the context that like, okay, so you have a Jew and you have a an Austrian, and that's the team. So Carol and Thomas, they're there and they're friends and they talk crap to each other. They've been working together for years, and so they have this working relationship. Chances are, basically, what happened was somebody got hired. They're offended by the things that they're saying. Thomas and Carol are like, well, we're just going to keep being who we are, joking around and making cool games. And it turns out the employees didn't work out. Thomas has alluded to, like, obviously it is political. Like they just weren't a good fit. They were causing more work. They were coming in, trying to bring in all these, different processes and things like that where they weren't a good vibe with the company, and they let him go. So then they go and they team up with this author who was paid by the Prince of Saudi Arabia, who killed that journalist. So it's just like it's like this whole rat's nest of like, wait, what? And to write like a hit piece article, which essentially, from what what was shared this week, was all orchestrated to try and drive more unions and creation of unions within the game industry, so to speak. So it's just like, it was just an insane story to unpack, but at the same time, like, wow, like as somebody who really loves the game, who's followed it all, and I see an article pop up, I'm like, that's not completely true. Like there's information out there that people can go, but like you alluded to, Mark, people will hear like something and they kind of just hold on to it, and turns out like maybe it's not true. And I think we all can be very guilty of that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. There's definitely things that I probably have in my mind that are similar to that. When you said we have a Jew, I thought you were talking about me. If
we have a Jew.
One of my best friends in college and roommate was German. All right. And so we would have great jokes. Some of the jokes, like if people heard them today, they'd probably like be freaked out. But I thought
I just
hilarious.
thought of 7 that I will not say.
Yeah. I'll tell you one time we were getting ready to go out on a Friday night, and my buddy, he was literally from Germany. He's like, do you want to get in the shower first? I'm like, last time you hear people tried that, it didn't work out that great. And he was like, oh, and he just cracked up. Which is a little edgy, but like, we're not there anymore, right? We can have some humor about that stuff. So that's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah,
I think it's just a bummer when you see articles like that come out, and the one that I had the most issue with was, I think, the Insider Gaming coverage, because by and large their website's pretty solid for giving like the latest breaking news. But with this particular situation, they highlighted certain keywords from his statement on Discord that was being like spun, that had nothing to do with anything. But because those words were like controversial, the way he phrased it or whatever, that's what the article felt like it was there to do, was just to make people angry at Thomas and Moon Studio and the game. And it's just like, you guys, this like, hold on. Can we just take a step back and really think about like that's not what he was saying. He was saying, hey, go review my game, please, because the hate campaign for it is hurting us, and it's like, my initial reaction was, are they really like in danger of shutting down over this? But early access in and of itself is a problem, because a lot of people jump in expecting a full game, and it's like, it's early access. Like, it's going to be weird. It may not have a bunch of content. It's, and I think that leads to a lot of early access titles not being successful, even though they can be. I think it's just people's expectations are in the wrong place a lot of the time. But the situation with this specifically is just like, this has been going on for how long now? How many years have we seen an article come out about a personality in the gaming space that turns out to not be true, or it's spun so wildly that it's like, I mean, you had a kernel of truth there, but you didn't stick to it. And that's my biggest bummer, is you just start to like not trust what those specific authors put out on their websites.
So, Brian's received at least 1 or 2 negative comments on this channel in the past, but he asked us all to like and subscribe earlier. So we should all cancel him. That's what we should do. Is what I'm learning from this story.
How dare he?
It was actually that's so funny because that's what Thomas was like. YouTubers ask for likes and subs all the time.
I ask for people to review my podcast. I beg people to review my podcast all the time because I get a 1 star of somebody saying, "Oh, I hate Catholicism." It was probably you, buddy. But he was like, "I'm just like, hey, can you go review it so it buries it or whatever?" But I really hope, like, when the first thing that I saw was that the studio, the first article I saw was that the studio is closing because the game isn't doing good. I didn't know anything about all the developer stuff, and I was like incredibly sad because the Ori franchise is one of my favorite franchises literally of all time, and my kids have started playing it. So it's this thing where like I'm connected with my kids. It's this beautiful story that they've loved watching me play it, and now they're getting old enough to be able to play it. It gets pretty difficult a little later in the game or whatever, but I was just incredibly sad, and I was like, and then I felt bad because like this style of game typically isn't my style. It's like if they get canceled or if they close down because of a smear campaign and for making a different style of game, I'm gonna be so upset. So I'm glad to hear it's mostly just fluff, and hopefully we'll get Ori 3.
We know for a fact because I've covered this. Like Microsoft calls them at least once a month, being like, "Hey, can we get Ori 3?" A lot of their team at Moon Studios has also expressed interest in doing Banjo 3. So it's like,
that would be cool.
Yeah, like I was like, put them in, etc.
Do we want Moon or Toys for Bob making Banjo 3 though? Because like Toys for Bob also has expressed interest. The guys that did
I just want Banjo 3. Like as long as
I want Ori 3. Leave Moon Studios alone. Everyone leave Moon Studios alone.
No, we've got no rest for the wicked. You have to wait for Ori 3. Yeah, I haven't played the Ori series, but that's something that I'm going to absolutely dive into.
Oh, phenomenal.
This is my introduction to Moon. And so you guys have brought up some interesting points because there is a problem of early access. There is a problem essentially kind of with some of the reviews, right? Like how is that system entailed? And I think one of the things that, if anything good comes out of this entire situation this week, is that it would be really cool to see an update to the review system in which that reviews that target a specific thing, like, hey, I was running into this bug. Hey, that bug got fixed. And it's like, okay, now we can kind of see, so that way certain things get weighted a little bit different, that as the developers, who the argument that I've made this week was they're listening to feedback, and not just listening, they're putting out updates and fixes, and they're making changes, and you can see it happening almost in real time with that. So it's not like they're off invisible, taking your money and running away. No, they're actively engaged. And that's one of the things that I think really kind of frustrated and kind of kicked off this from his, Thomas's tweeting campaign, is that you would see reviews that are negative a couple of minutes in with just a period in it. You're like,
that I think could be addressed pretty easily by Steam if they want to make that change. I think there's a couple of quick changes they could make. One is add the build that the player has, like they have downloaded or updated to when they leave that review, and put that in that review, like in the metadata or something. So that way anybody else reading it can see, oh, they were on patch 1 point whatever. Right. And that doesn't exist now, or that problem's been fixed, or we've added more, whatever. And then the other thing is with purchased games that they use the Steam refund policy for, if they didn't put in like the full limit of playtime, that review should not count against that, because you didn't use, like, if you did like 2 minutes of gameplay, leave your period review and then leave, go refund the game. Like that's not, you didn't experience the game. You literally booted it up so you could get the playtime and then review. And then, I think Steam could make some community changes to help address that.
Because also, like, I do want people the ability to play the game and still refund it, because if it's a bad game, and leave a bad review, because we don't want that kind of world where you bought the game and now you regret it. Too bad. So sad. You got scammed, etc. So we want that. We want to keep those protections within the process. But I agree with you, what you just said, Chrono. Like, I think there are some like small wins. It's not like you have to completely redesign their entire review, but stamping the patch that they played that review on, I think that would be very beneficial, saying, oh, okay, yeah, that was 17 years ago, and they've put out thousands of content and all these things, and people are loving it. Ultimately, the team just has to make a great game, because a great game is going to promote itself. And that's going to be one of the things that over the course of this year, it's going to be interesting. I don't think they're in any immediate danger. I didn't get that from when I originally saw it, because I even covered it in my videos. That's why we've been doing, I announced like, hey, we're going to be doing giveaways of the game so I can, get more copies into people's hands and thus support the developers. And I was like, yeah, okay, then we're going to do that. And it's like, I wasn't like, oh yeah, they're not shutting down next month. Like there is a runway.
He even said on Twitter, it's like, we're not like months away from shutting down. He was just kind of being like hyperbolic about it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if these negative reviews don't get like counterbalanced with positive reviews, or we don't get enough positive reviews, we won't be featured. And then our game can't sell. And then therefore our studio can't stay open.
Right.
Because they're fully independent, right? Like
they're fully independent now. They do not have a wallet. Now, the other thing that I kind of like pushed back, I was like, the logistic of them actually shutting down, in my mind, is Microsoft just acquires them. Like it's like they've got they've made the Ori, they've got the thing. Like we're
not asking anymore.
Right. Like, well, like it's like exactly like at some point that check becomes like, okay, well, I'm gonna accept that deal. But right now, like I'm like all for them being fully independent. And then yes, I do hope that we get to see them make Ori 3. I'm looking forward to sitting down and finding some time and playing that. Once I kind of do all the stuff that I want to do in game, I think that's when I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll go check out Ori and
my
play through it.
recommendation for playing Ori, play it on your best display, because HDR really makes a difference for that game. It is it's like a whole different experience. When I first played it, didn't have an HDR TV, played it after upgrading, and it was like, oh my gosh, like what is this? This is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
You will cry too, so bring some tissues.
Yeah,
dude, I cried at the Superman trailer.
Yeah, you're gonna
Waterworks here. Waterworks
so
is what they call me. All right, guys, where can people find you?
Oh, I just have one final controversial opinion to finish the last one. I don't think you should be able to buy things until they're done. That's my biggest gaming thing. I hate. It solves all of the early access problems. The game sucks because it's not done. So stop playing it. Stop selling it to us. Okay, you can find me at Forte Catholic on YouTube and podcast and social media.
All right, Mark, what's up with you? Where can people find you?
You could find me at Mark Liberto on Twitter or X, and then at Late to the Game on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. And I did just give a review to your podcast, Brian. I said, Brian is a great show, but there seems to be a problem with anti-Semitism with one specific commentator.
Exactly.
So,
I was literally going to be like, you can find me at Ginger Prime, friend with a Jew _.
Wait. So I'm the one that asked for a podcast review and Brian got one? How is this working?
Yeah. All right, I'll give you one. I'll give you the same one, Tyler. I'm no kidding. Taylor, I'm sorry. I'm mispronouncing your name.
It's okay. That's how most 5-star reviews. If I ever get something good, it has to come with a little knife in the back as well. That's how my life works.
Monkey paw situation, right?
Oh, yeah. I'll give you that
You're the hottest
review.
I've ever seen. Thanks. I don't know.
I live off of compliments like that. So
that's why you're good on the internet. Like if anybody's gonna make content online, get that thick skin. Or
I would like your podcast if it was completely different.
It's the best criticism.
Yeah. This would be a really good podcast if it was like any other podcast that's out there. It'd be great. All right. Where can people find you, Chrono?
Find me everywhere at Chrono32123 in most places. I'm working on changing the name. I put a question out there. People give me your worst takes on Twitter on name changes, and I've gotten some pretty funny suggestions. So
Chrono
find that
works.
thread.
It's just the numbers that
You can't just be Chrono. It's been taken and it's being camped hard by everybody on every platform. So I've got to find something more interesting, more catchy.
Well, who knows? I'll have to change the
rebrand
song.
Incoming. That's all I can say.
I'll have to change the intro song to this podcast.
No. Chrono's not going away. It's always going to be part of it. It's just going to have, I don't know, no numbers. So less of a mouthful.
I don't know why.
Chrono to pull the trigger.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't know why, but I think Chrono and Trigger and Break.
Somebody suggested Chrono Triggered, but I don't necessarily want the audience that might come with that.
I like it. I'm just saying. I like it.
It's not my brand. I'm not angry.
I started rhyming with that word pretty quickly, and I was like, nope, I got to stop this.
Well, on that note, never mind. You can't find me anywhere.
I am nowhere all at the same time. All right, guys, and yeah, and hopefully everybody who's watching this, listening to this later, you enjoy the little fun intro. We're gonna. I have like ambitions in which like how cool would it be to be like have the theme song of every episode be about what that episode is going to be, but we'll see how much this AI just
the
keeps
magic
getting
of
freaking.
AI. Anything.
Well,
is
yeah, it's like
possible.
yeah. Here's the. I was like, oh man. So we'll need a rolling set of memes. So anti-Semitism is gonna like, just like,
right off the bat.
Permitted.
right out the bat, right out the gate. Let's go. All right,
And
guys.
anti-Italian too, if you want to rule that in as well.
Yeah, I'm a self-hating Italian. So it's like, all right.
I'm not
guys.
racist. I hate everyone equally.
I don't hate everybody as much as I hate myself.
Oh, yeah. I look into that mirror and I'm just so disappointed. All right, guys. Thank you so much. This has been fun. We'll be back next week, and be sure to check out these guys' content and so much more. But until then, take care.